I'd like to welcome those of you in the audience. I know several of you are going to be witnesses today. Looking forward to the information you're going to provide us. Audience members who aren't on panels, hopefully many of you will testify at the end of the hearing as members of the public. Today is the third of several oversight hearings that we've had in the Higher Education Committee. Our first hearing looked at the potential effectiveness in our public higher education segments of ensuring quality and access despite the cuts we're all facing. Our second hearing looked at affordability and how to preserve affordability for our students. Although the master plan has been a tremendous success for California in many ways, California at this point ranks number 43 of the 50 states in the percentage of college-age population who are actually attending baccalaureate degree institutions. According to research done by the Center for Studies in Higher Education, this is a result of a lack of four-year baccalaureate capacity in the UC and CSU, both of which do a tremendous job of their mission. It's not a matter of excellence, it's a matter of capacity. And that they account for 93% of all post-secondary enrollments in California. So with their capacity so limited, it's no surprise that our percentage of students pursuing baccalaureate degrees is low. And this is particularly troubling in face of a prediction by the Public Policy Institute for California that we'll need 1 million more baccalaureate degree graduates by the year 2025. We don't think we can do that. We can't get there from here with the current capacity of the UC and CSU. And as you know, this year, unfortunately, there are proposals to cut both of those segments as well as cutting community colleges. At least $1 billion in the CSU and UC combined, another $400,000 in community colleges, and that looks to be the best case scenario. So today we're going to look at other ways for increasing capacity toward baccalaureate degrees, and one method would be to authorize community colleges to offer a limited number of degrees, a limited number of colleges to offer degrees, baccalaureate degrees, usually applied degrees. And we're going to look at particular issues that I'm asking panelists to speak to. One is whether the conferring of baccalaureate degrees by community colleges can, in fact, increase capacity in higher education. A second is whether community college baccalaureate degrees would be an efficient way to meet workforce needs while maintaining excellence in education. A third would ask if community college baccalaureates potentially risk restricting access and imperiling the existing mission of community colleges. That is, if community colleges go on to offer the four-year degree, what does that mean for their two-year mission? And fourth, what models and alternative methods of delivery already exist or may be created that California can learn from, because in other states, in many other states, baccalaureate degrees are already being offered. And we're going to hear from at least one witness who's at a college, community college, that offers baccalaureate degrees today. I want to thank again the panelists who are here, and I want to thank my colleagues on the committee who are here with us today. And I'll ask them if they have any comments they'd like to make before we hear from the first panel. First, I'll turn to my vice chair, Tim Donnelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am in favor of finding out what the panelists are here to talk to us about. I'm not sure that the number of students in college relative to the national average ought to be our goal. I'm thinking more along the lines of the number of productive citizens prepared to work in the current global economy really ought to be what we're after. And so I think this is a good discussion over what the role of the community college system should be within that construct. So I'm very eager to hear what you guys have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Donnelly. Either of you want to make any comments? Mr. Cajun?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Quickly, I want to thank all the members of UC and USC and the community college who came to speak off their mind as what are their concerns with the budget-related issues. I really want to thank them because that was educational for me to hear their side of the story. I do value education just because of my background. I do very strongly believe that the key to our success for the future generation is education, and we got to do the very best that it is affordable, accessible, But I'm also concerned that as we produce more intelligent, educated future generation, that we also have job opportunities so that it's a good return on their investment. So there's got to be a balance. And I'm also interested, as we speak of higher education within our community colleges, that we also have room within our community colleges to teach those who rather go into the skills than education, that we have everything available at all times to meet the needs of all of our population. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Katja. Mr. Lara.
I'm glad to be part of this discussion today. I'm very eager to learn about the possibilities that exist within the community colleges. Although I think the master plan for higher education was a good document in the past, I think we need to really focus on determining what the real need is for our workforce as we move forward, and that means really looking at our three segments differently. And I look forward to having this discussion today.
Great, thank you, Ricardo. A lot of you may know that Ricardo was a student body vice president at San Diego State and has been very interested in higher education policy for a long time. And as a staff member, was a leader in opening up opportunity for all students to attend college. So with that, I would like to invite our first panel to come forward. And the folks that will be coming up first are Julia Blair of the California Post-Secondary Education Committee. That's CPEC. We've asked Julia to provide an overview of the California Community College's role under the master plan and a brief overview of the situation in other states. Terry Cannon of the Western Association of Schools and Colleges, WASC, who we've asked to discuss the accreditation process for community colleges seeking to offer a bachelor's degree. So the two of you are panel number one, and we'll ask you each to keep your comments to about 15 minutes. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Block and members. Is there a switch, or is this just automatic?
You're good. You're
okay,
on.
Good. I'm Julia Blair, Legislative Director for the Post-Secondary Education Commission. We've been asked to speak on the California Community Colleges and the awarding of the baccalaureate degree. My comments today will cover a few areas. First, I will give a brief master plan history on the differentiation of missions and functions among the public post-secondary institutions. Then I will describe CPEC's role in the coordination and approval of degree and certificate programs. Finally, I will present the Commission's perspectives on what would need to happen for the community colleges to award bachelor degrees and discuss how other states' intersegmental coordinating bodies have handled this issue. As history, in 1945, a committee of the UC Regents and the State Board of Education was established to help coordinate California public higher education. Out of this, there were several reports, including the Strayer Report in 1948, and the restudy of the needs of California in higher education in 1955, which led to the development of the master plan. In 1960, California Master Plan for Higher Education was codified in the State Education Code in Senate Bill 33 by then Senator George Miller. While there are many stories told about concerns that the master plan sought to address, our best information is that two of its goals were to limit turf wars going on at the time, which segment got to do what work, and to head off rampant expansion of campuses, which was also a concern. For California's community colleges, the master plan defines their mission in the state's education code as offering instruction through but not beyond the second year of college. It reserves the baccalaureate degree and beyond to the State University, University of California, and the Independents. So moving on to the second point. Among its statutory responsibilities, and I think you have a handout that shows our review process, CPEC reviews proposals from public colleges and universities for new degree programs. For community colleges, this includes academic and vocational program proposals. Working with the higher education segments, the legislature, and the governor, our commission has developed guidelines we use to review program proposals that use 7 criteria. These are displayed on the beginning of the front page of your handout. They are societal need, student demand, appropriateness to institutional mission, number of existing and proposed programs in the field, total cost of the program, maintenance and improvement of quality, and advancement of knowledge. While the Commission has not studied all of the issues involved in expanding the mission of the community colleges to offer baccalaureate degrees, preliminarily, we believe the following changes would first need to occur. First and most obvious, state law would need to be changed to permit this new function in the community colleges and to authorize the use of state funds for these programs. Second, WASC and other program accreditation bodies would have to set standards for evaluating these new programs so that they receive academic standing. Third, these programs would have to go through the community college's internal program approval process. Finally, the proposal would come to the Commission for final review and recommendation. So if the community colleges were authorized to award baccalaureate degrees and the Commission's program review process were to remain unchanged in law, community colleges interested in pursuing a bachelor degree program would need to go through the following process. First, the local community college would develop a proposal to offer a baccalaureate degree program. Second, this program would be submitted to the district's community college board of trustees for review and approval. Third, if the board of trustees approved it, the board would submit the proposal to the statewide board of governors for review and approval. Finally, if the proposal were approved by the state board, the community college's chancellor's office would formally transmit it to CPEC for review and comment. The Commission is not sure if or how much we would need to change our current criteria to accommodate the review of community college baccalaureate degree program proposals. Representatives from WASC might be better positioned to describe what they might look for in such proposals for accreditation purposes. Finally, turning to what other states do here. Our research has found that most state efforts authorizing community college baccalaureate degree programs fall into three basic models. One, some states initially authorized one or two colleges to offer baccalaureates based on regional need, and those colleges eventually morphed into full baccalaureate institutions. Second, other states authorized many or all of their community colleges to offer baccalaureate degrees, but also required them to maintain their traditional mission and functions. Finally, some states authorized strictly limited community college baccalaureate degrees confined to technical degrees. Most of these states expanded existing associate degree programs at these institutions. In general, we have found that states authorizing community college baccalaureate degrees are trying to provide students with comprehensive instruction in various career technical fields. They want to expand in-state degree production in vital workforce areas more rapidly than traditional processes allow. They are responding to increased credential requirements for some applied and technical fields, and they use these degrees to respond to immediate workforce needs in regional areas. Some states initiated these programs to better serve rural and remote geographical areas by making baccalaureate degrees more obtainable for students living in those areas, which tend to be underserved by four-year degree colleges. Overall, states moving in this direction have focused on developing targeted degree programs in the community colleges in selected career technical and applied fields. You can see that chart that shows where most of the degrees are. The goal of these programs appeared to meet specified local workforce needs in a more expeditious and hopefully cost-effective manner. Information from the Community College Baccalaureate Association shows that there are about 200 community college baccalaureate programs currently established in 15 states, and that about 70% are in education, health, and math and science-based fields. The states of Florida and New York account for 2/3 of these degree programs. The display on the back of our handout shows specific program offerings within each discipline area. If community college baccalaureate programs are successful, and that's a big if at this point since outcome data are generally unavailable, these programs could improve college completion rates and baccalaureate degree attainment rates. In summary, the Commission believes the 1960 Master Plan has served the state well. However, we also believe that it needs to be updated to deal with the realities in 2011 that could not be envisioned in the 1950s when the Master Plan was being developed. For instance, the Master Plan is clear about providing access to students to get into public universities and colleges, but less clear about the state's responsibility for successfully getting them out. In terms of segmental mission, in recent years, state policymakers have amended the Master Plan provisions in state law to authorize CSU campuses to award doctoral degrees to meet changing state workforce needs. The issue of community colleges offering baccalaureate degrees also should be considered in any reshaping of the Master Plan. While the Commission currently has no policy position on community colleges offering baccalaureate degrees, such a change would be a major departure from current state practices. This potential expansion of the community college's mission has many facets, including financial resources, program scope and focus, availability of faculty and facilities, and ability to meet workforce needs, just to name a few. This expansion would need to go through study in order for it to be implemented in an effective manner. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, and I'd ask members if they have questions now they want to ask, it's all right. If you want, we can wait till both panelists have finished. But thank you, a very comprehensive report. Appreciate particularly the data you gave us. And now we'll move on to Terry Cannon from WASC. Terry?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members. I'm Terry Cannon, the Executive Vice President of the Accrediting Commission for Senior Colleges and Universities of the Western Association of Schools and Colleges. We accredit 162 four-year colleges and above in the region, which includes California, Hawaii, and the Pacific Islands. There is our sister accrediting agency, ACCJC, the Accrediting Commission for Community and Junior Colleges, which is part of the WASC corporate entity, but accredits separately community colleges. So what you have before you is a policy that we developed collaboratively with our sister accrediting agency to accredit one baccalaureate degree at a community college, a single baccalaureate. So it's called the Joint Accreditation Process between ACCJC and ACSCU of WASC. And we have had this policy in place since about 2002. We have used it 3 or 4 times. We're in the midst of our fourth one of these accreditations. So the policy is fairly straightforward and probably not as complicated as what it sounds on paper. What we do if a community college wishes to offer a single baccalaureate degree is we begin a process with that community college that involves both accrediting agencies. The institution will apply simultaneously to the Community College Commission and to us for recognition of that baccalaureate level degree. Through the ACCJC, the process is called substantive change, kind of an arcane federal term. And through us, it's an eligibility for accreditation process where the institution moves first into eligibility and then candidacy and then initial accreditation. This takes anywhere from a year to 3 or 4 years from start to completion. And in the instances when we have utilized this process effectively, we've been involved from the very beginning in the discussions with the institution and all of the entities that you would expect and that Julia referred to in her testimony. So getting district approval, system approval, campus approval, and so forth. So we would require all of those approvals to be in place before we could give candidacy or accreditation to a single baccalaureate degree. And what we would look for in some ways is similar to what CPEC would look for. In some ways it's different. We also would look at need and ascertain whether or not the institution had undertaken a thorough needs assessment. We would look at the capacity of the institution to offer the program in terms of finances, library, faculty sufficiency, faculty qualifications, which might be higher to offer a baccalaureate level degree than for a community college degree. We would expect there to be a baccalaureate culture around any bachelor's degree, which might involve scholarship and creative activity and research undertaking by the faculty and the students. So we would look at some different things. Most importantly, we would need to see that the baccalaureate level courses and programs were offered at the upper division college level. And that's, sort of one of the basic entry-level prerequisites to approving that degree. We have a separate process if an institution wants to seek approval for more than one baccalaureate. In that instance, the institution has to shift from ACCJC to our commission. So in essence, the whole institution shifts over and comes under our jurisdiction. because we have jurisdiction in the region over the four-year and higher institutions, and we don't regard a single baccalaureate as sufficient to require the institution to shift over to us, but upon the offering of the second degree, the institution does have to shift over.
Okay, thank you very much, Terry. Appreciate both of your reports. A lot of good background information. At this point, I want to welcome Kathleen Galgiani and Paul Fong, also members of the committee. And we'd like to ask if any committee members have questions or comments. Cacho.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ladies, I really appreciate your presentation. A lot of details that I'll be looking forward to a little more. I'm glad that there is a process and there will be a need assessment. And yes, I support it with the concept that especially where the four-year colleges aren't readily available. But I do have concerns within my district where we have Cuesta College only 5 minutes away from Cal Poly. But my concern, if you care to address it at this time or maybe in the future, as cuts are coming your direction, and for our community colleges to be able to offer higher education, does that mean that now they have to hire instructors with higher degrees at a higher cost? And how would this apply with today's economy?
I think
Does that make sense from
yeah, the commission shares your concern that given the fiscal constraints right now in the community colleges fulfilling their current mission, that perhaps this would maybe be an additional pressure for them to try to expand their mission at this point.
And I would say, WASC, neither commission would really venture an opinion on that, but I will say that there are costs involved with moving to the baccalaureate level. We would expect an appropriate level of qualifications. The institution may or may not have that, may require additional support for scholarship, lighter teaching loads for faculty members, new advisors for students, new support services, career services. There are a whole array of characteristics of a baccalaureate level program that would need to be funded.
Yeah, I would like, as hopefully you'll bring forward the need assessment, what are the needs, that you also bring forward the cost attached to it and where is it going to come from, so that as we move forward, we do the job conscientiously without adding more responsibility without us being part of the picture.
I will say, in terms of budget, we do require, with any kind of a proposal like this, as does ACCJC, a 3 to 5 year budget showing where the money is coming from and that there will be adequate money so that the program is sustainable.
As we speak today, the instructors who teach at community colleges, are they qualified to teach for higher education, for bachelor's degree, let's say?
Some are and some are not. So at the baccalaureate level, there are some faculty members at some of the community colleges who have baccalaureate degrees and who do not have a master's or a doctoral degree, and we would expect them to have a master's or a doctoral degree and appropriate experience.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Otajian. Any other members have questions or comments? One quick question. In terms of the accreditation process, knowing there'll be additional costs in a lot of areas for baccalaureate degree, how about for the accreditation process itself? How long would that take, and can you roughly guess how much that would cost?
It would take probably 2 years until initial accreditation of an additional degree could be granted, because we don't grant it until the first graduating class is ready to graduate. And we can do it simultaneously with the first graduating class so that those students have the benefit of the Senior Commission accreditation. So I would say we could do a timeline that matches with the needs of any new baccalaureate program. There are fees for this. They're not the biggest cost involved. They would probably be, for most of the kinds of changes we're talking about, under $20,000, including the expenses of visits to the institution.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other questions or comments, I want to thank both of you for your presentations. And now I will call up our next witness, Dr. Malcolm Grothe. Malcolm is the Executive Dean at South Seattle Community College. He's also a board member of the Community College Baccalaureate Association. We've asked Dr. Grothe here to speak about his experiences with community college baccalaureates in Washington State. I'm sure he can speak to cost, maybe to the question you had, Cacho. And just in general, as a representative of the Community College Baccalaureate Association, the experience across, not just in Washington, but across the states. So welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Glad to be here. Thanks for welcoming me from your smaller sister up north. Glad to be here. And thanks for the introduction. I'll throw a few other things. I also recently completed a dissertation, so now that I can say I'm Dr. Grothe as of 2009, pretty happy about that. And that dissertation was on community college baccalaureate degrees, and I traveled around North America to different areas to find out about that. I'd just like to tell a little story about that. In one of the states down in Florida, I was conducting research, and my research was around the perceptions of employers and graduates. So what do the people think that really hews this thing? And I was at one location and interviewed a graduate. She was in a situation where she was working full-time and was a single parent. And although there was a local university quite close, it didn't offer any night programs, and it also didn't accept the technical credits that she had from her technical business degree. She was working as a office administrator at an industry. She went and got her bachelor's degree at a local community college in an area that was related to the place that she worked. She then was upgraded and moved into a whole different field. She had told me how this had changed her life, felt like this was going to change the life of her daughter. I also had the opportunity to interview her supervisor, and that's kind of where the epiphany hit me, too, was that this person had worked at that place for many years. He had always thought, oh, she was a great employee, but they were unable to upgrade her because she did not have a baccalaureate degree. Once she earned this baccalaureate degree in the area that they worked in, he was amazed. He told me she was his best employee, and that he kind of never knew that because she was kind of stuck at this other level, and this opportunity for her to earn this baccalaureate degree really changed her life and the business's life. So he was very happy about that opportunity. Just wanted to share that story. Today, what I plan to talk about is the national perspective from the Community College Baccalaureate Association, kind of what they're thinking, what happened at Washington State, and then particularly what happened at the college where I work, South Seattle Community College. Let me first start by saying the previous panelists, I noted no glaring omissions. Basically everything they said I agree with. I think they're on track, both of them. So the history, prior to 2000, there were only 5 states in the country that offered baccalaureate degrees from community colleges. And by 2005, that had jumped to 12 states, so more than doubled. And now it's somewhere between 15 and 20, depending on how you look at it. There's several states in play, including California, Michigan, Oregon, that have different types of legislation pending. So lots of activity in this around the country. Also, almost every college that I've worked with or been involved with, in addition to offering baccalaureate degrees at the community college, they also have university centers. So they're typically not just a community college only offering baccalaureates through their own center, but also through other colleges that they partnership, which is the case at our school as well. Kind of at the national level, you heard this before too, really, there's a couple different ways that they're done. There are these niche technical programs. At our school, it's hospitality management, not offered anywhere in the region. Students have to go all the way over to Eastern Washington, 250 miles away, to get a degree like that. In northern Nevada, they have instrumentation, which is associated with the mines. Nowhere around is there a program like that. So there are these kind of niche programs that are targeted at specific industries, and typically those bubble up from the industry. So the industry comes to college and says, can you help us? We have this workforce that we need to upgrade or need higher skills. That's kind of the niche area. The other is there's critical shortages such as teachers or healthcare workers. Those are other areas that degrees are offered in this at community colleges as well. So, from the Community College Baccalaureate Association, the members believe that that a baccalaureate degree is important for people to get better jobs and have better lives. I mean, it's a pretty simple intent, but it's really kind of focused on providing access to people that previously didn't have access to baccalaureate degrees, as well as providing employees to employers that also didn't have access. One of the other stories that I'll tell you too is in another state that I was at and talking to an employer, the employer was telling me that they had a hard time keeping people in the area because as soon as they went and got a bachelor's degree, they left town. And if they as soon as they went off to go get a bachelor's degree, they left town, they never came back. And so the idea to have baccalaureate degrees in town, they could train folks there and keep them there in town and not have this kind of brain drain of people leaving the rural areas to go to the city and then not coming back. So that was an important piece. In Washington State, we conducted very many studies, just like what was talked about earlier, and found basically the same information that you heard in terms of our studies that we had. We want to develop niche areas, programs in niche areas that are applied baccalaureate focused. So we decided to focus on the applied baccalaureate because typically the universities in the area were not offering these applied baccalaureate degrees, and so that therefore there'd be no competition with the regional or the research universities. Also provide professional development for incumbent employees, and this is in our program. This is typically what it is. Most folks already have a job, and they're trying to become a higher level within the job. Our kind of vision in the hospitality management is that you can start as the housekeeper and become the CEO of the hotel. That there's that pathway for you. So one of the largest demands in our hospitality is from the students and the employers. We have twice as many students applying for the program as we have slots. I guess I'll address one of the questions that came up earlier is finances for this, and there are some significant startup costs to get this launched. But in terms of overall costs, this program is less expensive than most of our technical programs to manage. And I think that's the case in most cases, that we are being reimbursed at the same level that the regional universities are being reimbursed in terms of the FTE, and we're charging the same tuition. And that was an agreement that we made with the regional, so we weren't in competition with them and trying to undercut the cost of tuition to bring folks in. With that cost model, this works very well for us. In terms of faculty, we did hire a faculty. He had a master's degree. He since went and got his doctorate degree. But we use our existing faculty to teach a lot of the adjunct parts of the class, too. So that faculty is also on a regular pay scale, although he does act as a faculty chair and does get some release time to run that program. What happened in Washington was in 2005, the first legislation passed that approved 4 pilot programs. These were competitive, so your college could competitively compete against all the other colleges in the state to get one of these pilots. The folks at the state board put together a very good, at least in my opinion, proposal package that said you will maintain your focus as a community college. You won't morph into a university. You won't put anything forward that's in competition with any of the four-year universities. You'll focus on the workforce needs. You'll bring employers on board. So they were very focused on that. They opened it up just for 4 pilot schools. So there was just going to be 4 opportunities for folks to take a look and see what happens. Then in 2008, after those 4 pilots went forward and had very good results, legislation approved 3 more pilots. In the meantime, things went really well, and I'll tell you a little bit more about our statistics. And then in 2010, the Washington State Legislature opened it up to all community colleges. We have a similar process to what was talked about before here, that both the Community College Board and the Higher Education Board look at it, and the regional universities have an opportunity to say, no, this is not something, this is in competition with us, and that sort of thing. So it's very similar to what you were talking about here, how that process works. And in the legislation, it was very specific in Washington State that these were to be applied baccalaureate degrees, and that they were to build off our technical associate degrees, which most of the regional universities don't accept those credits. So if you're talking about costs for a student to go retake all the credits that it would take for them to go earn a bachelor's degree, that's a significant cost to the state. So these are designed to reduce the cost for students who want to go on and get a bachelor's degree, because those technical credits are then accepted at the community college level. So we had a set of principles that we put forward to serve students that are not otherwise served, extension of the workforce mission, that the colleges have the capacity and kind of the wherewithal to do this and to sustain a new program. The colleges are going to remain lower division institutions. They're not going to morph into universities, and that does happen. I think we heard that earlier, and that is the case. There are many cases where a school has been offered or started offering applied baccalaureate degrees and then eventually kind of morphed into a university. So the legislation kind of prevented that by happening by actually putting that in statute that you can't do that. That they don't compete with universities. And I think a big one from my perspective is maintain the open door in context of adding baccalaureate programs. In other words, we're not going to shut the door to folks coming in that we typically serve. So our approval process, I talked about it a little bit before. Let me talk about our commission, Northwest Commission on Colleges and Universities, very similar to WASC. It's a very, very similar process. It's a substantive change. And what was said earlier is very similar to what we're doing. I would just like to say that out of the original 4 pilot schools, 2 of those schools received a commendation for the Northwest Commission of Colleges and Universities. Nobody got any recommendations in terms of their applied baccalaureate degrees. So it was a very comprehensive process that we went through. It was
recommendations are negative.
Recommendations are negative.
So none of them.
You've got to go change something.
Just want to clarify that.
Commendations means that you did a good job. I think when we were going through this, when we were at this stage that you're at right now, a lot of folks are saying, oh, the accreditation agencies aren't going to like it, it's not going to work, and that just never came to be. My 6 years of dissertation came up a little chart like this that basically says you take the non-traditional students, you kind of mix them up with the industry demand for technical workers, connect that with the mission for the community colleges, and add the baccalaureate, and that serves the community, makes the community stronger. That's kind of what that's trying to say. This is a chart that's just the pathway that shows that folks can come in from high school, from the workforce, or other degrees in training, earn their 2-year technical degree, go on and get their applied baccalaureate degree, and then go on and get a master's degree. And we have that all set up. And in fact, that was one of the criteria, is that you needed to make some connections with master's programs, so this would just not be another glass ceiling for students. At our college, in our hospitality management degree, we're starting our 4th cohort now. We've had 2 graduations so far. We've got a 90% graduation rate, 90% employment rate, 50% people of color. Again, we received the commendation from the commission, and I believe we have a stronger community, stronger campus, and a stronger state. Some suggestions that I have as you move forward with this is to partner with universities. We partnered with Washington State University. They were very helpful. They kind of showed us the ropes and helped us develop curriculum They're just very, very supportive, so I would certainly make that a suggestion. I heard this earlier, too, beware of turf. I suggest kind of stay out of other folks' turf. Focus on the need of economic development in the individual community. So I think, if you kind of use that as a focus, that it's economic development, I think you're pretty safe. Again, employees need to build their industries in the local communities, and the students need to have opportunities to upgrade their careers. And that's what I got. What questions do you have?
Thank you, Dr. Grothe. First question is from my vice chair, Tom.
Thank you. I noticed you said repeatedly that there would be no competition with universities and other institutions that offer baccalaureate degrees. Given that this is the United States of America, where competition is sort of the cornerstone of our capitalist system, why would you not want competition, number one? And then my second question is, you said that everyone or most of the people who benefit from this change, this expansion of the education machine, as it were, that they already have jobs and that they're looking for that next leg up. My dad was in that situation. He went to what was called night school at the time because they didn't have online colleges. But we have online colleges that are pretty reasonable. They're offered by the private sector, and I know that there's a certain amount of financial aid available. Why are we duplicating something that's being done way more efficiently? Why are we even considering that? Did you guys address that in your study?
So I'm not sure I understand your questions, because your first question is kind of opposite of the second question.
No, my first question is,
like
why would we not want to create competition with the schools that are run by the state? Because if somebody starts doing something well at a lower cost, then the other outfit's going to have to get its act together and start offering, scaling back costs. All of us in this current environment understand that anything that we do has to be saving us money. Mm-hmm. So I think competition for CSU and UC, if that were the model, that would be a positive thing, not a negative thing. But I just am remarking because you don't address in any, at least in your testimony, anything to do with the fact that this is really going to be a duplication of something that exists in the private sector, that is available, that is efficient, it is convenient, even if you're in a rural area, to go to an online college. So if you're looking for that night school type advancement to get a degree, which is exactly what my father did to get his degree in business, don't we already have all that? And why would we even consider this expansion at a time when we have a budget crisis and we have a shortage of spots in our UC and CSU system?
Well, I think that's an excellent question. I believe that the idea of not duplicating existing programs is, I'm not sure how that's different from the online thing that you were talking about. In most cases, these niche programs that I'm talking about aren't offered online or other areas. For example, hospitality management, the one that we're running, or the instrumentation one that's offered in Northern Nevada, are not programs that are typically offered online.
What about nursing programs?
So nursing programs, I think that is a competition. So that's kind of to your second question, is that is in competition, and maybe that's one where the competition would make programs stronger. I'm not sure how to address that.
Well, I mean, if we're impacted and we need more nurses, and then you can offer that one thing, and it's not offered by online schools, then that might be something to consider. But
correct.
At what cost? I mean, that's really the question: is what is the cost going to be? Are we setting up an entire infrastructure going forward that we have to support, which really is the fundamental problem here in California? I realize you're from Washington and it's not your problem.
Right, but I'll try and address the question, hopefully respectfully, in that the point is not to increase the infrastructure that you already have. Some of our community colleges bringing in $100 million a year in terms of FTE. They have many PhDs on staff, large libraries. They have all the infrastructure in place to offer baccalaureate degrees. To build a new building on a university campus to accommodate that would be an additional cost to the state, where you already have capacity at the community college. Now, in some cases, the universities already are expanding, and that's the university center model, and we applaud that and think that's a good way to go as well. So I think kind of incorporating both is a good strategy.
Thank you, Tim. Mr. Lara.
Thank you for your testimony. Well, I have a couple questions. I wanted to see if you had done any research in terms of some of the niche programs that you talked about throughout the country. Anything in California that you see that would kind of lend itself to these type of programs?
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't do any research, but I'd be happy to look into that. I suspect there are many opportunities in California. I assume areas in biotech or other areas where there's kind of this striation. Prior to working at the community college, I worked at Boeing. I was a training manager there, and I also did college programs there. And there's the need for kind of the engineer level folks that are baccalaureate, and then there was the need for the kind of the 2-year technician, and now there's kind of this need for this mid-level person that's kind of an engineering technician. And in many areas that are technical, that kind of engineering technician is an area that's growing, and the need out there for that.
Great. And then I also would love to get a copy of your presentation.
I can email it to Sandy.
Great, to Sandy. And Ricardo, the next panel will all be California experts, and they can talk to us about the California focus in particular. Paul Fung, Ms. Fung.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Malcolm, for being a leader in this pioneering effort to introduce baccalaureate degrees to your colleges. My question is on tuition and fees. In the California state system, the community colleges pay much less than the CSUs and the UCs. In Washington State, I assume the community colleges charge more for their tuition and fees, but is it as much as it is for a 4-year college, or is there a two-tier fee system?
So this is how it works. The community colleges, I think right now is around $80-something a credit at the community college for quarter credits. And when they move into the baccalaureate level, then it jumps up to the same tuition level that the regional universities. Now, we have 2 tiers of tuition costs. There's the regional and the research level universities. So University of Washington, Washington State are a higher level tuition than the regional universities. So the community college students are paying the level for their second 2 years at the level of the regional university tuition.
I see. So there is an increase. There's
an increase,
a 2-tier or 3-tier system
Correct.
of fees and charges.
Yep, exactly.
Right. Thank you.
Good question.
Cacho.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't expect an answer. I just want to share a concern. My look at the competition is on a different level because when attendances are low in our community colleges and the universities, are we now be trying to take away from each other, and how would that impact the existing system? Where I think this will work, having 2 colleges within my district, and I'm a product of Cuesta College and Cal Poly, is where Cuesta College is known for its nursing program, and it's good to know that they'll be capable of offering higher education within that program, while Hancock College is known for its police academy and be able to offer higher education within that. I can't see the pluses, but the only competition that I'm concerned about now, because the other part is available, it's your choice, is having 2 public sectors competing against each other for attendance, student attendance. And again, as I said, I don't expect an answer, but it's just a concern. I want to put it on the table.
Well, I'm not an expert in that area, but I can just kind of share what we did in Washington. And again, the idea was to kind of start off small. And when we were starting off, we were trying not to create any turf battles in terms of competition. So we were trying to identify areas that there was a clear demand for, and steer away from that concern. So I think that was a strategy that the state was taking.
Thank you.
Mr. Lara, thank you.
You know, I'm trying to think of. Can you just elaborate for me on what type of student are we talking about that are going through these programs?
So,
Like
so
if
I can talk from kind of two.
Right.
I can talk from my research when I was working on my dissertation, and then my experience as the dean for technical education. In the research, most of the folks are older, non-traditional students. They're people that are working full time. They have families. They have other commitments that make it difficult for them to attend a traditional university setting. Many of the students and many of the community colleges offer their programs that are either hybrid or online as well. They're many of these community colleges were kind of used to doing that. Our program at South Seattle Community College is also targeted at working adults. We offer it 2 days a week. They're required just to be there for 2 afternoons a week, and then the rest of it is all online. The population, we have a little mix. We do have some younger students that are coming right out of their culinary arts and business technical programs and going on to the bachelor's degree. And the other half are folks that are older working adults that have been working in the field for a while, are now coming back and wanting to upgrade their skills, become managers. They've kind of hit the wall in terms of their ability to move up in the organizations.
Thank you, Ricardo. Couple of questions. One, at a weekend symposium, the conference put on by the Baccalaureate Association, I attend part of it, and it was mentioned that in some states, the community college baccalaureate degrees are basically self-sustaining, that the tuition paid pays for the program itself. I don't know if you have any firsthand knowledge of that, or if you can get information for us and send it to us.
I do have some firsthand knowledge. One of the second-tier programs that was started in Washington State was one in interior design, and that one is at Bellevue College, and it was proposed and developed and launched all self-sustaining.
Okay.
Tuition alone.
The other question, have you noticed any negative impacts at your college on the traditional community college program since you've instituted the baccalaureate program?
So I was real careful when we did this. There was a report done in Canada called the PESH report, where British Columbia has been doing these degrees for about 20 years now. And about 10 years after they started, this researcher went and kind of analyzed all the colleges that were offered and kind of found out what the problems were and where the turf wars were and where the money was going. And so we were careful to try and avoid those. When we started this program, we brought everybody on the campus on board. We had a group that included everybody. It was even the custodians, the tech media folks, everybody from the campus was involved with the development of this program. That's the area where we actually received a commendation, is that everybody on the campus was kind of so happy about the fact that this degree had come to campus. We designed it so it would kind of float all boats within the campus. It also has helped enrollment in the technical programs, and anecdotally has helped graduation rates in the technical programs as well, as people want to graduate so they can move on into the baccalaureate degree.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Grothe.
Thank you.
This leaves one additional panel. We have several members of the final panel who will be talking about California perspectives in particular. First, we have Dr. Barry Gribbins, who's Assistant Superintendent, Vice President of Institutional Development and Technology at the College of the Canyons. We have Sue Albert, who is Dean Emeritus, Allied Health, retired from the College of the Canyons, and she's representing the California Community College Chancellor's Office Advisory Committee. Then we have Debbie Berg, Associate Dean and Director of Nursing Education at San Diego City College. We also have Marlene Garcia, who is Vice Chancellor of the California Community College Chancellor's Office, and Scott Lay, who is Executive Director of the Community College League of California. Now, for this panel, we will ask each presenter to present for 15 minutes, with the exception of Ms. Albert and Berg, who will share their 15 minutes. Okay, so we'll begin with Dr. Gribbins. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I sent over a presentation. I'm not sure if you happen to have it at your fingertips, but if you do, it looks something like this. And I have a few more copies. I'm going to, I think, mostly address your last question that you posed, which was what models already exist for offering baccalaureate degree programs. At College of the Canyons, we have a university center on our campus. The geography makes a difference, too. So to let you know where College of the Canyons is, if you get on the 5, head about 367 miles south, just past Magic Mountain, we're on the left. And that's northern LA County, and that's important because getting around LA County, just like getting around many other places, is a bit of a challenge. And even though some distances might not be too far for folks to travel to, say, CSU campuses, folks, and this has been mentioned earlier, folks, especially non-traditional students, folks who have child care responsibilities, who have working schedules, especially find it difficult to travel those distances. And for that reason, we opened a university center on our campus. The university center is a place, right now it's a 110,000 square foot building where multiple universities offer bachelor's and master's programs on our campus. It also serves as a hub for economic activity. We believe it's really important to have a very close relationship with businesses in our region, and in the University Center we have many economic development functions: contract training, small business development center, an business incubator, a workforce center. All of that's located in our University Center with the university programs. And I'm going to flip through these quickly, so I'll occasionally call out where I'm at in the charts. So why is a university center needed? As I mentioned, the geography, especially traffic, child care, and work schedules make it a challenge for many people to access university programs. In fact, when we asked our University Center students if they experienced one of those barriers, 91% said that they had, and that the University Center model, having the access to baccalaureate programs and master programs on our community college campus, removed that barrier. The slide number 6, our mission, we focus on many things beyond just a very small view of what we should be doing. We really do take our role in the economic health of our community seriously. We look to our local businesses, we ask them what training that they need, and then we figure out a way of meeting those needs. It's originally might be simpler if their needs are focused only on lower division, but as we all know, oftentimes the businesses have needs that extend beyond the lower division level. The driving purpose of the University Center was twofold. It was to, first and foremost, to increase access to advanced programs. It also was intended to increase the attainment, and those are slightly different things. Educational attainment at the associate's degree level and at the baccalaureate degree level. It gives folks a clear view of where they can go and how to get there, and we believe that that's important. And having that in Santa Clarita was critical too. I'm going to skip over. It's already been discussed on why it's critical that we have baccalaureate degree programs, the increase of baccalaureate degree programs. Mr. Block, you covered that extremely well in your opening comments. Let me just quickly tell you how we got started. There are a handful of university centers where multiple universities offer degree programs on a community college campus. There's a few of them in the United States. We went and visited 3 of them. Houston, Texas, my chancellor got to take that trip in early summer. I missed Houston in early summer. I did go to Roanoke, Virginia, and then there's also a university center in Arapahoe, Colorado. Each of those university centers is operated a little bit differently, and traveling to each one and looking exactly how they operate was very instructive to us and to help us develop a model that would be effective in Southern California. At the same time, we conducted an initial survey of local businesses. As you can see, over 95% of the respondents indicated that a bachelor's degree program, one or more bachelor's degree program, was important to the development of their workforce. It's obvious that local businesses need a wider range of degree programs available to their workforce. What were some of the challenges that we initially faced? No logical source of funding. This was about 10 years ago, and we thought times were bad about 10 years ago with the economy and the state budget. Those were the good old days, I guess, 10 years ago compared to what we're facing today. It had never been done before. The University Center had never been done before at this scale, especially in California, and there was a lot of barriers to doing it. But what were the opportunities? Why did we end up doing this? Our community needed it first and foremost. We wanted to bring opportunities to students. There was opportunities for other activities to help develop our local economy, the High-Tech Business Incubator, Employee Training Institute, which is contract training that we do for local businesses, customized training, and in several other areas that I list here. So where did we go from there? We developed an action plan. We expected that we would have to raise a lot of the money to build the building, so we formed a steering committee with a focus on raising some money, raising a few $1,000,000. We asked the foundation to draw our own foundation to drive that. We conducted some more detailed surveys and feasibility studies to help inform those efforts as well. In Santa Clarita, we had from the responses to a feasibility study, we had a very positive approval rating from our community. 98% expressed a favorable attitude towards the administration, and our faculty also are well regarded in our community. 98% indicated that the University Center would receive widespread support. So that was, I think, a great shot in the arm for folks who are trying to get the effort launched and moving forward. If you're interested in conducting a capital campaign, we have a slide in here on the 6 steps, the 6 successful components. At the same time that we launched the capital campaign, we opened an interim center, a small modular building, 7,500 square feet, as a proof of concept. We wanted to make sure that if we built the building, universities would want to offer degree programs and students would want to take those degree programs on our campus. And in that university center, that interim facility, that small interim facility, we were able to have 4 university partners offer degree programs: CSU, Bakersfield, Northridge, University of La Verne, and Chapman University. And they offered mostly business and education programs, then a few additional ones: criminal justice, communications, liberal studies. The funding sources, now slide 23. The funding sources for the building, we were able to get individual donors and foundations to give us $3.1 million. We passed some local general obligation bonds that listed this as a project, so we were able to receive $10 million for this project from those. At the time when we were first planning this, there was no category for the state to fund these types of projects, but later there was a joint use category that was developed for capital outlay projects, so the state provided $21 million in funding. A high school, our local high school district, opened an early college high school on the campus, and they contributed $5 million for the portion of the building that the early college high school operates. So one can get their go from high school from 9th grade through the master's degree and in moments through their doctorate degree without leaving our campus, and that's without leaving that building, actually, and that's kind of cool. And then we got some federal support too, especially for equipment. So once we had the funding, we started looking at the functional features that would be needed. This is slide 25. I have listed here smart classrooms was what we used to call them. Now we just call those spaces classrooms, because every classroom we have now has to have LCD projectors and basic technology. It's just it's not a luxury anymore. Wi-Fi access throughout the building, distributed power stations so students can plug in their laptops when they come to class, flexible seating, computer labs, seminar rooms. The lobby was important to serve a variety of functions, both for the University Center partners and how they interact with the students, but also it's great for social events too, and help draw attention to that facility. We got going on the implementation of the permanent University Center while we were still fundraising, while we were finishing up the fundraising. We developed organizational structure. I got another hat. You saw from my title, I have a couple hats. I got one more. We developed a strategic plan. We started going through a process of setting annual goals of where we wanted to be in terms of partners, programs, and all the infrastructure and everything that needed to go with it. We broke ground for the building in 2007, and it took us just about 2 years to finish the building. So 2009, just a year ago, we completed the permanent center, which is 110,000 square feet. And that was a nice change, going from the 7,500 square feet that we were bursting at the seams at to the 7,500 square feet. And we had a dedication ceremony. The building's actually named after our chancellor, Dr. Diane G. Van Hook. And I have a few pictures. You'll recognize some of your colleagues up here in some of these pictures from the presentation. But I want to skip forward to how it currently operates. Starting with slide 35, we currently have 8 university partners in the University Center: Cal State Bakersfield, Northridge, and Los Angeles. Los Angeles is our newest partner. There's a mention of engineering, baccalaureate degree programs in engineering. They are offering they're adding an engineering program with a focus on manufacturing. So that's a nice example of bridging the technician level and the engineering level. UCLA Extension, University of La Verne, Brandman, National, and the American College offers some insurance designations. We currently have 38 programs in the University Center, so that's quite a comprehensive offering, we believe. I would like to get it up to 70 and really offer a wider range of programs. We're going to plan on using technology to get to 70. Some of the degree programs I want available in Santa Clarita in the University Center are ones that might have small numbers, like philosophy, and I would expect they might have small numbers because at the main campuses they generally have small numbers. But we can use technology like video conferencing to co-locate those courses so that they can be offered at both locations at the same time. The next few pages list the programs. I mentioned that the University Center has a variety of activities in it. Slide 39 shows the different types of economic development functions that are housed in the University Center. Our early college high school. Teach, which is a program to get students in the pipeline from the associate's degree level, the lower division level, all the way through the teacher credential. That's located in our University Center. We have an Institute for Teaching and Learning. The last one here, meeting facilities for local nonprofits and businesses. I didn't expect, we always make our facilities available to nonprofits and businesses. I didn't expect this to be that popular, but this is really kind of exploding. as businesses see what facilities they can have access to teleconferencing facilities and such at a really a reasonable price, and the nonprofits as well. Everyone's struggling, so these types of spaces are seen by both groups as a real resource, and their use of the spaces when we're not using them for the degree programs is really exploding. Just real quick on how it works, how the University Center works. I mentioned we traveled to a lot of university centers to look at different models. On one level, we essentially lease space to the universities. The universities operate the programs. That's important, I believe, for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is accreditation reasons. But they need to have the latitude for university centers to offer the programs and determine how they're going to be offered. Though we do work with them to make it work, and the things that we can do very efficiently and effectively include marketing and outreach first and foremost. Since we have 8 universities, pooling everybody together is a great way to effectively bring students in. And we currently have about 500 students in the University Center, 264 undergraduate and 213 graduate students. And since we've opened the interim center, we've actually had 1,563 students graduate. So we're starting to see some good-sized numbers, and we look forward to having that grow.
Thank you, Dr. Gribbins. Again, there are several panelists, but if you don't mind holding your questions till the end, they may be covered by subsequent panel members. Our next panelists are kind of co-presenting, and that would be Sue Albert, who's the Dean Emeritus of Allied Health from the College of the Canyons, representing the California Community College Chancellor's Office Advisory Committee. I guess Sue's, and then Debbie Berg, who's Associate Dean and Director of Nursing Education, San Diego City College. So however you two want to do this.
All right. I'm Sue Albert, and first of all, I'd like to thank you for allowing us to testify for this bill. We really appreciate it. Our testimony is based upon the talking points that I sent into the office earlier. Debbie Berg will be doing the starting up, and so here's Debbie.
Hi. Thanks very much for inviting us.
If I could just make sure one thing's clear. This is not testimony to a particular bill. Right now it's testimony to the concept of baccalaureate degrees in community colleges.
Okay. Good to know. We're really here to talk about the nursing part of it, because there's such a shortage of nurses at the baccalaureate level in this country and especially in this state. There's a critical need for nurses prepared at the baccalaureate level. Our population is aging. As healthcare and technology allow people to live longer with more and more chronic health problems, that's an issue in which nurses at the forefront of healthcare really are going to be dealing with. And the nurses are aging just as well. Over 50% of the nurses are 50 years and older. 72% are over the age of 40 years old. And these are numbers of just active licenses. It's not necessarily that those nurses are actually working in nursing or practicing in the field. So that's an area that's a little bit of a problem. A couple of years ago, when all those 401ks became 201ks, all those people that were on the cusp of retiring didn't retire. When their 401ks become 401ks again, they're going to all retire at the same time. And we'll be facing a real nursing crisis. Right now, our graduates are having a little bit of a hard time finding jobs. And the hospitals particularly, but also community health care agencies are looking for people with baccalaureate degrees. And this is the perfect opportunity, really, for us to educate the RNs and the associate degree nursing graduates that at a baccalaureate level as soon as we can, so they're well prepared in the job market when all those nurses retire. The Institute of Medicine report on the future of nursing recommends that we increase the proportion of nurses with baccalaureate degrees to 80% by the year 2020. And right now, there are 82 associate degree programs in the state of California, graduating between 6,000 and 7,000 nurses a year. Only 32 baccalaureate programs, graduating 2,500, which is a 3-to-1 ratio, and I think we need to move out of that 3-to-1 ratio and at least double, possibly triple, the number of baccalaureate prepared nurses as soon as we can. I think there are plenty of students to go around. We've all been dealing with wait lists, and there's a lot of people out there that want to be nurses, want baccalaureate degrees in nursing. I think that we can serve our students without affecting CSU, UC enrollments. I don't think that we're trying to create competition because there are so many people who want baccalaureate degrees in nursing. There just aren't enough affordable opportunities for people to get nursing degrees. We may be creating competition with private colleges and CSU extended study programs that charge $50,000 to $90,000 for a baccalaureate degree, leaving people with great debt, I think.
The community colleges have always shown that they can serve as a cost-effective educational alternative, and they can serve as a cost-effective education alternative for baccalaureate degrees in nursing. It would cost approximately $10,500 a year for our students to complete the program, which is on par with the CSU system. However, in Florida, where the community colleges have been offering the baccalaureate in nursing degree, the president there at the meeting that you attended, Mr. Block, said that their schools were losing money on the ADN nursing programs. But in the same colleges, when they went from RN to BSN, they actually made money that offset the cost of the ADN programs. And that's at their basic cost per unit in the community colleges there, which is $76 a unit. This is the base cost unit for all the colleges in Florida. The BSN beyond the ADN is cheaper to offer because it's primarily theory classes. There's very little lab and there's very little clinic. So the ratio of students to faculty is much greater. And so that is a big cost savings. When the community colleges are looking at about a $500 million cut, this actually could help be used to their advantage. The CSU budget and enrollment cuts make it impossible for the CSU nursing programs to meet the demands of ADN prepared RNs seeking BSN degrees. In the past year, UCLA has closed its ADN to BSN program. Now Humboldt State University is closing its nursing program. Also because of budget cuts, anybody entering a CSU with a bachelor's degree already is not allowed to enter because they're only taking those that have never received a bachelor's degree in anything. And right now we're looking about a third of our students come into our programs with bachelor's degrees. So now they're being shut out of that program too. As you know, the California community colleges serve an incredibly diverse population, including underserved and underrepresented groups. They serve students who ordinarily would not be eligible to enter a CSU program. So offering the BSN at CCC provides a greater diversity of nurses to meet the California diverse population. Time to the degree is reduced when students can complete the program at the local community college campus. That is a decrease in cost. Also, financial cost, transfer cost, articulation disparities, and travel time are reduced when the BSN is completed on one campus. Also, there's a decrease in cost to the state when students don't have to repeat similar courses when transferring to a CSU program.
Prior to Assembly Bill 1295, which was chaptered in October 2009, many community colleges have been trying to collaborate with the CSUs and the UCs to provide seamless progression for our graduates into baccalaureate nursing programs. Even with grant funding from the State Chancellor's Office and the California Institute for Nursing and Healthcare, few truly collaborative models are currently in place. I can think of really only about 3. Some barriers to this effort include the limit on baccalaureate granting institutions to accept transfer only 70 units, where the associate degree graduates have at least 72, and many have nearly 100. Some of them already have baccalaureate degrees in something else. And another barrier is an apparent sense of elitism that the CSU and UC system nursing programs believe their programs are more rigorous and continue to want our associate degree graduates to repeat nursing content, when our graduates have shown that they can be successful on the licensing exam at equal or higher rates than the baccalaureate program graduates. The Board of Registered Nursing requires the same education qualification of faculty in nursing programs at both the community college and the bachelor's programs. Many community college faculty hold doctoral degrees already, as teaching is the primary mission of community college faculty rather than research. And I understood that to offer the baccalaureate degree, there's going to need to be some release time for research, and nobody's opposed to that, of course. The quality of the education at the community college is very high and extremely rigorous in our nursing programs. And one other thing on the cost, the funding part, I attended the advisory board meeting for Grossmont's nursing program last Thursday, and the director there talked about this very issue, and members of the advisory board, representatives from the hospitals in San Diego County, Scripps, Sharp, and Kaiser, all said that they would be more than happy to help fund this effort, which I think is, a very big issue in San Diego, particularly. We really have a need for the baccalaureate education because of the magnet status that all acute care facilities seem to be wanting to have. So,
in conclusion, I have a couple of quotes from Dr. James Samuel, president of the Education Alliance in Framingham, Massachusetts. These are from the Point of View articles in the Community College Week, dated July 23, 2001. The Community College Baccalaureate represents a new way to think about and facilitate the educational pathway to sustainable employability and professional advancement in a new globally competitive, technologically driven economy. According to some of the enterprising presidents who have designed and implemented baccalaureate degrees on their campuses, including Dr. Ronald Remington at the Grace Basin College in Nevada, Dr. Robert Huddleston at Dixie State College in Utah, a bachelor's degree is becoming the required job ticket for increasing numbers of students presently enrolled at the community college. These quotes demonstrate two things. One, California is lagging behind other states in education innovations, and we are missing opportunities to provide for career growth for our students. The BSN out of the CCCs would actually improve the economic situation for the community college, help educate our nursing workforce, and bring us up to speed with other states. With all the gloom and doom out of the state capitol today, wouldn't it be nice to have something positive for a change? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Albert and Ms. Berg. Appreciate your testimony. Next, we have the Vice Chancellor of the California Community College Chancellor's Office, Marlene Garcia.
Thank you very much, Chairman Block and members of the committee. And thank you for inviting me here to speak to you about the merits of having a community college, awarding a community college baccalaureate degree. And I'm also willing to split my time with my colleague, Scott Lay, if you'd like. So I probably won't need more than about 7 minutes or so. So you've heard today about some of the opportunities and the benefits of awarding a baccalaureate degree on a community college campus. And certainly working in close collaboration with sister four-year institutions is a key part of making that opportunity available. You've also heard about some of the complexity and the multiple steps involved in putting one of these programs together. The Community College Chancellor's Office does believe that this concept holds promise, particularly if implemented in close coordination with primarily CSU, and probably focused on narrow, high-demand career technical fields such as nursing, an area where we already have deep expertise. And certainly there are other states that have forged ahead in this area, and they're finding the value and benefits of this. However, and this is a very big however, it's very hard to imagine in this current fiscal environment implementing such a program within the California community colleges in the very near future. It's hard for us to get beyond our current situation. You know that our colleges are beleaguered with the challenges of absorbing the magnitude of cuts they've had to take, and then of course, you know, the proposed cuts this year. Just in the last 15 years, for example, our enrollment at community colleges has grown by 44%, yet the per student funding in 2009-10, adjusted for inflation, was lower than what it was in 1995-6. So we're having to grapple with some real serious changes in our fiscal environment. The legislature has also directed us through budget language to prioritize and to focus on our three core areas of our mission, and that is in delivering transfer education, career technical education, and basic skills. So we're working hard and making very difficult choices and trying to focus in on those core responsibilities during this difficult fiscal time. As a matter of fact, you know, some of the more popular classes in local communities are the avocational classes, and we've even had complete local governing boards unelected because they supported eliminating some of those avocational programs. So it's a really difficult set of choices that our colleges are faced with right now. And of course, you know, I don't want to sing the blues and tell you what you probably already know, but, you know, we've had to turn away 140,000 students this past year, college-level students, and our estimates indicate that about 130,000 of those students were first-time freshmen. And when we say turn them away, you know, we're an open admission institution, so that means students who could not get even one course. So that, to us, is probably the most disturbing issue that we're trying to grapple with right now. And of course, this year is not expected to get any better. So, you know, I think it's fair to say that we're trying to batten down the hatches and prepare for what's to come. And we're trying to look as pragmatically as possible and looking at new ways of doing things. And this is certainly a new approach to things. So a couple of the steps that we think are important to consider as you look at a proposal such as this is, of course, there's the oversight and accreditation challenges. You know, if a college, as it was pointed out earlier, is going to offer, you know, one of these new BA degrees, then you'd be able to have this joint, you know, community college accreditation process coupled with the senior college accreditation process. But if you offer more than that, then you're getting into shifting to the senior accreditation process. And from our college's standpoint, going through the accreditation process is an extremely labor-intensive, critical function of our colleges, and it does take a lot of time, and it's something we take very seriously. The other piece of this is curriculum approval. It was earlier, I think the CPEC representative talked about the steps in approving curriculum. Well, the Chancellor's Office plays a role in approving courses. And we would have to expand our expertise and our capacity to, in fact, approve upper division courses. That's not something we've ever done before. So that has fiscal implications for the Chancellor's Office that we would not be able to absorb that kind of activity without state funding. There are questions about financial aid, especially when you look at the potential or the prospects of having to increase student fees if that's what's to cover the costs and offset the funding challenges in implementing this kind of program. So that has strong implications for financial aid. And currently, the way the Cal Grant program is constructed in statute, it's designed, the community colleges students only get Cal Grant Bs. We don't get Cal Grant As. Students going to four-year institutions can get Cal Grant As or Cal Grant Bs. I know it's complicated. I won't get into that, but there would be some adjustments that would have to be made for financial aid, including our BOG fee waiver, because our BOG fee waiver, the Board of Governors fee waiver waives the current fee for community colleges, which is, at this point proposed to be $36 a unit. Of course, if there were significant increases to student fees to cover the cost of this program, the BOG fee waiver program would be a lot more expensive. But I think it's important to focus in on some of the things that are underway that do achieve some of the goals that I've been hearing today, and that I know that particularly you, Chairman Block, have been most concerned with, and that is access to the BA degree. That's about, preparing the workforce to take the kinds of jobs that are emerging in the field, such as the increasing need for BSNs rather than just an ADN. And then just access. And I think that there are some really important things that are underway. And I'll start with the centers. I mean, that's not creating a whole bachelor's degree infrastructure, but you are bringing the four-year institution and siting it on a campus that has some benefits. And it's probably not perfect in all ways, but it does bring that connection stronger, especially in remote rural areas where students don't have ready access, place-bound students who don't have ready access to the BA degree. The other effort underway is the AB 1295 task force. This was the legislation alluded to earlier, and this was an effort, a legislation that was adopted that requires the CSU and the community college nursing faculty to work together to look at how they can integrate a articulated transfer ADN to BSN program and do it in such a way that students wouldn't have to repeat classes they already took as part of their 70-plus unit program that's already part of the ADN program. And I think that, by all accounts, there have been some really significant conversations going on between the CSU nursing faculty and the community college nursing faculty, and they're soon to release a report on how to make that transition easier so that our ADN students can get that BA degree, which industry is increasingly requiring. The other point is the SB 1440 transfer degree law that was just approved, and that whole effort was really to streamline and make it easier for community college students to transfer and get that BA degree, and so that they can move into the workforce with higher skills as quickly as possible. And the key part of that, there are a lot of important dimensions to that effort, but one of the key features of that bill was that students wouldn't be required to take more than 60 units at the lower division level, and the same would hold for the upper division at CSU, that they'd take 60 units. And so what you would be doing is reducing the amount of unnecessary unit taking that tends to happen when you don't have a clear pathway. So we think that's really key in making it easier for students. And then so those are some of the efforts that are underway that I think are moving in the direction that you'd like to see, particularly in this fiscal environment. They're not as costly and they're not as complex. But, in closing, I would like to say that we do continue to look at innovative and new ways to provide our educational programs, especially during these challenging times. And although the devil is in the detail and timing is everything for these kinds of proposals, it doesn't mean we shouldn't look at them. But I do think that, it's something that we, are right now we're so focused on the fiscal environment and how we provide basic education to our core mission that's probably our first priority at this point. But I would like to commend Chairman Block and the committee for looking at this issue and pushing the envelope and getting us to think about why we do what we do and how we can do it differently and better. I think that's a helpful and a very important process for us to undertake in improving access to the BA degree. So thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. And our last panelist is the Executive Director of the Community College League of California, Scott Lay. Scott?
Thank you very much, Chairman Block and members. Well, fortunately for you all, Marlene gave her testimony off of my notes. And it's rare that we actually we can say we're in absolute lockstep, because I think both the highlights of what's being done, the concerns and the promises that have been outlined by Marlene, the Community College League, representing the 72 local districts, can attach itself to. A couple of thoughts. I've been listening and just trying to put down our thoughts, because the League isn't 100% in anybody's camp on this issue. I'll tell you that on the two policy boards that I answer to, the California Community College trustees and the chief executive officers, there have been passionate debates on this issue over the years. Mr. Fong, you may have remembered that when you were on the California Community College trustees board. And the fact is we have a very diverse state, very diverse needs, and the different perspectives of different colleges, I think, are brought to the table. One thing that came to my mind during the discussion was, only California's community colleges would say, wow, this isn't working. This is a business model people are going out of business on, i.e. Humboldt State, so let's step up and do it. The talk is, the community colleges might get the same funding that CSU is getting for the baccalaureate degree in nursing. Well, it's not even working for the California State University. So this is an issue that actually goes above and beyond community colleges or CSU or UC, but really is a sign of the economic times that California's higher education faces right now. As Marlene pointed out, we're facing between $400 million best case scenario and $1 billion in state cuts under the different budget scenarios. And while we're aggressively campaigning for a balanced approach on the lower end of that, the way I've talked to our members is, hey, we're going to be either a $5.2 billion system or a $5.6 billion system, dropping from a $6.2 billion system. What is it that we want to do with the taxpayers' money for California's future? So I'd be a little cautious jumping down and reaching conclusions right now, because over the next 6 months, we're going to have a very aggressive debate. The voters, in my mind, hopefully are going to get a chance to decide. And then it's our job and your job as policymakers to engage and look at this from a master plan type construct, and that whatever the new realities are, how do each of the three public segments and our really two private segments, a nonprofit and the for-profit, fit into this construct? I'm a big believer in core competency, whether it comes to the Community College League's organization or our individual community colleges. And I'm here to tell you that we're not doing an A job right now for our traditional mission, the mission that's outlined in statute, mission that's outlined in the master plan. I'm not sure we're doing a B job or even a C job. Last year, we had a commission on the future. We published a report called the 2020 Vision for Student Success, and we looked at what is it that California needs by 2020 and 2025 in both baccalaureate and 2-year and 1-year credentials, and what can community colleges do to plug into that. We did look at the community college baccalaureate, but we realized that just the enrollment capacity for California's community colleges alone going forward, according to the National Center for Higher Education Management Statistics and Lumina, the need for 1 to 2 year degrees is great enough that if the community colleges could just focus on what we do best in getting students across that finish line, that's what's going to be best for the use of taxpayer dollars and for our students themselves. In a sense, we're talking about taking a little bit of the community out of community colleges and putting a little of the junior back in. Now, that's offensive for a lot of people that have fought since the 1960s to have a ever-growing mission. But the fact is, we're doing a real poor job as a state meeting the needs of new high school graduates or even high school dropouts like myself. And that is what we've got to focus on, regardless of how much money the California's community colleges have to spend next year. Now, there are some legitimate issues here for rural colleges, for transportation compromised colleges, and for some limited allied health and allied technology programs. And we have several options. We could have mandatory articulation with the California State University. You could say, CSU, it's time to pare back on the RN part of the BSN program, give that to community colleges, and have an SB 1440 type relationship of the first 2 years taught at community colleges with guaranteed placement at the CSU. That might make a lot of sense. You could have the university center model. I think that's what we found the most promising. Or you could have the pilot type programs as envisioned in the chairman's bill for a specific curricular areas and specific colleges. We are cautious because there have been no examples where the slippery slope has not happened. For 2 years, I was president of the National Council of State Association Chief Executives, all of my counterparts across the country, and I'm close friends with the Washington, the Florida, and the Texas State Association executives. And in each of those states, you have this aspiration of community colleges. We started as K-12 offerings, then we became junior colleges, then we became community colleges. And what you see in other states as part of this rush to baccalaureate is everybody wants to be a state college. And that has policy implications to it. It has funding implications for you as well. And I would just urge you to recognize that as we go down this path. Yes, let's meet California's workforce needs. Let's meet the needs for our students, but also recognize what's happened in some other states. And let's find ways for each of the segments to focus on their core competency. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. And thank the panel. Let's see if there are any questions now. One question, really for Marlene and Scott, I guess. It seems that the main concern, particularly brought up by Marlene, was funding. It was mentioned by Debbie that there was interest in San Diego, for example, and that I'm just using that as one example, that hospital foundations might be willing to underwrite a program. Dr. Grothe testified that there were examples in other states where community college baccalaureate degrees not only were cost neutral, but actually subsidized other community college programs. Given the abysmal transfer rates in community colleges right now, and the possibility that student success and completion, I think the likelihood that we would see student completion rates accelerate if students could get their 4-year degree in the same place where they're comfortable, that's close to their home, close to their job. So given we would change the abysmal record community colleges have with transfer, and if we could do it cost neutrally or in fact subsidizing community college programs, would you still object?
I don't think we would object just on the concept. I think that there's a lot of question about what's really involved in putting this type of program together. If there's someone who's willing to underwrite it, you'll find a lot of interest and say, well, let's figure this out. Let's see if there really are these quick returns on this investment. I think my answer would be is that we would certainly be willing to look at that carefully and figure out, how you set the fee structure to be so that it's not an access issue for students in our system, and how you structure the other support pieces that would make it work.
And I would also be cautious about the promises of the private industry. Private industry are necessary partners with community colleges, but a few years ago, every healthcare agency was marching forward to community colleges and dangling carrots and promising, we need nurses, and they're not around anymore. And many cases, they didn't even follow through on the promises they made a few years ago because the nursing demand has subsided along with the economy. And there are healthcare economics that go on as well as to how robust the industry is. And so people leave the profession not because they're retiring or dispirited, but because they're going into administration or other more lucrative fields. And there's one sense that, if we raise our standards for all of these allied health, technical programs, industry will just do it and follow suit. If the state's going to pay for additional education for these students, and the university will say, why wouldn't I take a baccalaureate student without a true assessment of the additional skills and knowledge that are gained? So that is one particular caution that we'd have.
Thank you, Sue.
Well, the fact is industry is already trying to raise those standards. Industry is already trying to make baccalaureate entry into the level. We are trying to fight that, yes, because we think our graduates are outstanding. But if we're looking at that, we also have to look at the other part of the mission, which is to help meet the needs of the community, and that is to get the baccalaureate prepared nurses. And, you know, I sat at the table right at the lunch with you, and I had Kaiser offering me at least $1 million to take in 30 students, get them through this program. They wanted it right now. And Kaiser does follow through, and we know it's one of the biggest healthcare people here. So it's out there. We know that other healthcare professions, such as physical therapy, occupational therapy, they're being forced for a master's entry level. We're trying to hold steady at ADN, but we also have to look at the reality that it may be BSN. And so there is no way when you have 32 colleges here and 82 colleges here that we can get all those people into those 32 colleges. That's just a matter of fact. And we have the infrastructure in place at the community colleges with the skills labs, with the clinics, and with the faculties to do that. So, you know, before you just sort of write it off, think about that too. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. And I don't think anybody is writing it off. I think we're all open to the possibility of pilots. We just have to look at all of the positives and the negatives, the things that might be concerns. Cacho.
Just a comment. I heard what you said about the industries, but the 4 hospitals in the county of San Luis Obispo, I want to give them credit because they did come through and help Cuesta College with their nursing program. But the other side of the coin is such that when they come through to help the nursing program, they're not seeing as much of those nurses who graduate is the payback is going to work for these hospitals who help the program to survive. Mm-hmm. So there is both sides of the story that need to be told.
Debbie?
I'm not sure how it is up there, but in San Diego, the students that attend community colleges stay in San Diego. They're non-traditional students. They have families. They have their life, their work, their everything is in San Diego. We don't have people leaving, going elsewhere from the community colleges like they do in other programs, I think. Because, I can count on 2 hands in the last 5 years the number of people that left the state and went to work somewhere else. Everybody else is
the difference
right
could be
town.
that your hospitals are on a larger scale, can use more, the payer scale is
that's
better.
Probably right.
And a graduate of nursing program is a graduate of a nursing program.
Right.
When you're looking for better return on your investment, and moving to a city could be very attractive to a young graduate, being a parent of 2, recognize those needs. So those are all the reasons.
Thank you, Cacho. Mr. Donnelly.
Yes, I wanted to ask one question of, I believe it's Sue. You were mentioning the cost, and you went through it really quickly of the program as outlined at a community college to get the baccalaureate.
Yes.
What was that number?
That was, I believe, something. Unfortunately, I was thinking that Dr. Rerbens was going to talk on that, and so I left my number at home by mistake. And it's, I think, something like $10,560 per year, which is comparable to a CSU, but it's a lot cheaper than a private. University Center, the National University, is a private school.
Okay.
And then the outreach programs for the CSUs, which is what they usually do when they partner with us, is they use the extended college rate, which then is hitting around $300 a unit. It's right up there. So that hurts our students. These people don't have a lot of money, they're going, but they're willing to pay extra to get a bachelor's there. For us, at COC, should it be offered there, that would save them driving 20 miles down to CSUN or paying the extra tuition at National if they could have a BSN off of our campus. Now, what is gas these days? think of the drive, think of the traffic, and things like that.
$4 a gallon.
Yes.
But I really appreciated what you said, which was we really need to be looking at our priorities and figure out if there's another way we can solve this problem, particularly in nursing, because I think that's one where the demographics are there's going to be a tsunami of need, and we need to fill that. So I appreciate you coming to testify and give us some information. I don't think there's any easy answers, but I certainly think we need to look at where there's efficiencies, where maybe we can prioritize our resources to accomplish those within the quote-unquote master plan. I hate the sound of that. It just sounds so Hitlerian. But I do think we need to really take a serious look at that so that community colleges can continue to fill a critical need, and yet we can fill these critical niche industries, and maybe we don't need to go open up the can of worms and go down the slippery slope of creating a whole new classification and mission for the community colleges when we're not even getting very many, not more than a quarter of the students are transferring to the baccalaureates now. So there's not a natural need there, even though there is in some of these niche areas. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Donnelly. Yes, sir. And then Mr. Fong has a question, but first we'll go to Dr. Gribbins.
Just to clarify one thing related to cost, in the University Center, College of the Canyons, we have a BSN program, and the cost is comparable to the numbers that Sue was talking about, not more than. So it's about $9,000 or so per year through the University Center, our University Center's program. And Sue's right that all the programs, the state university programs are run through their extended university, so there's no state dollars going to university center programs. All the University Center is self-sustaining and doesn't cost the state any, doesn't take any state money.
Is that the CSUN that's doing, or who's doing the
National University is doing our BSN program.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Fong.
First, I'd like to congratulate Dr. Van Hook in accomplishing the University Center. It's really quite an accomplishment. So can you extend my congratulations to her?
I will.
Thank you. I have a question for Scott Lay. You mentioned something very provocative. When I started in the community college world, we were just leaving the junior college world. And you're saying that we're going back to that in many regards?
In many regards, this, facing $1 billion in cuts and eliminating 600,000 of our 2.7 million students, we have to say we're rationing. And I don't believe, and nor do our boards at this point, believe that all students are equal and that priorities have to be established. And when you look at those priorities, they align much more closely with the junior college that we left behind 50 years ago than the community colleges we are today. None of us like it, but none of us like cutting health insurance for poor kids either. These are the difficult choices the state is making.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fong. I'd like to thank and excuse this panel, and now we're going to move to public comment. So if any members of the public wish to address the board, please come forward now and stand in a line near the entryway. Very lively debate. This has been very interesting. I want to thank many of our members had to leave for other meetings, but those that are still here, thank you. And now we will begin our public comment. I only see one person who wishes to make comment. Are there more? Okay, we've got a couple. We've got a few. I'm asking how many now so I can plan in terms of time. Since there are only 3 people who wish to make public comment, you can take each up to 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. Jonathan Lightman on behalf of the Faculty Association of California Community Colleges. I hadn't planned to speak, but there were so many references to faculty during the hearing. I thought that it would be good to have some perspectives of the faculty in this subject. Like many of the organizations that have spoken, FACT does not have a single voice on this, although when it came up for consideration last session, there was a tremendous degree of caution that was expressed. And I think that very much the faculty were in alignment with what Scott Lay said, but I want to express it a little bit differently, which is to say that in periods of contracting times, you have to do what you do well very well. And you have to be very concerned that if you add something new, that it is going to detract from what you do well. I would say on the part of the faculty, the problems are endemic, and those of you who have been involved in community colleges for a long time know that we rely too heavily on part-time faculty. We don't offer professional development. There are issues in terms of the new standards of the Accrediting Commission pulling from the time of faculty, and all of these have to be taken into consideration if we're going to be, at some level, devoting a new pot of resources into something different. And so the question that we will have to answer then as a state is that will this help solve these problems? Will they not touch these problems, or will they make the existing problems even worse? And I think that this is the concern that we have moving forward. I mean, I do want to put on consideration the issue of professional development that was mentioned by one of the speakers, but it was mentioned in regard to the students that if we have programs in nursing or in hospitality, that we want to make them professional development centers. Well, in fact, that's what we do today, in the sense that community colleges are today the graduate schools of the 21st century. But like Scott Lay said, if we have to pull back in terms of our traditional offerings, we become more like the junior college model. Now, if we talk about faculty coming in and teaching at the four-year level, the need for professional development that is state-funded becomes even more pronounced. But I would say, as executive director at FACT, not at the expense of offering professional development from our current faculty. Second is the provision of student services. Now, programs like EOPS and DSPS, they had their budget slashed by up to 40% a year and a half ago, and this was not mentioned by the previous speakers. Where will the students in these four-year programs be receiving student services? When times were good, our system ratio of students to counselors in the community colleges was one counselor for every 1,900 students. If we could scale that to 1 to 900, we would be in an okay ballpark, but really where we should be is about 1 to 400 or 1 to 300, something like that. And again, that's when times were good. So the question, again, is that as we consider moving forward, how would we address that problem? And finally, I'm really pleased that one of the speakers addressed this issue, but it was raised to me by someone on our board about how will the value of this degree be perceived. So let's, for instance, let's take San Diego. And we have someone who graduates from a BSN from San Diego City College and someone who graduates with a BSN from San Diego State College. And let's say that person then leaves San Diego. How will the value of that degree be perceived? And I think that it is a question that we have to seriously grapple with moving forward, because if I'm a student and I say, well, if it's the same price, and let's say I have my choice, I don't want someone to say to me, well, it's really the same, when employers don't consider it to be the same. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Johnson. Some provocative questions that we should deal with over the course of the next few months. Thank you so much. Next speaker.
Thank you for allowing us the opportunity. My name is Linda Zorn. I'm the statewide initiative director for the Health Workforce Initiative, part of the California Community Colleges Economic and Workforce Development Program. And my interest is in nursing only, so I'm going to provide some comments to that level. And based on some of the previous comments on what do we do well, we actually do nursing very well at community colleges. The NCLEX pass rates for the first time for ADN, 89.3%. BSN 89.2. So you can see we're really on par with offering the same level of coursework and same level. So as far as would the industry receive this, if you look at the entry-level pay scale for the ADN versus BSN, entry-level pays the same. So I want to go back to two of the comments made earlier by our friend from Washington, talking about the economic development aspect and the career ladder aspect. So for our purposes, I work in economic and workforce development, and we look at industry need. And the industry has been asking us to really increase the number of bachelor's in nursing candidates. If a hospital wants to achieve magnet status, they need to have more BSN students. Also, we talk a lot about career ladders. Much of our work right now is talking about how do we offer students in every area career advancement opportunities. And if we look at this opportunity, we not only need more bachelors in the field, but we need them to teach. And if you look at the issues of primary care and healthcare reform, we're going to need more people to be nurse practitioners, and that's that career pathway. I'm from Butte College, so I've worked for many years in the far north. And if you look at our Mercy Medical Center in Mount Shasta, they have for years been talking about how can we get more bachelor's degrees. So that's a prime example of they have done some things with online education. I've worked with online education, and that's one aspect as well. But just a little clarifying factor, we're talking about for the BSN an RN to BSN program, and that's going to be somewhere between maybe 25, 35 units, maybe 2 semesters. So we're talking about first completing the ADN program in your traditional community college program and then going into an ADN to BSN. So I just wanted to clarify that, what we're really talking about here. And it's actually to do a pilot program in this area I think would be very interesting, as Washington State did. So I would really suggest that you'd look at providing some pilot programs throughout the state where the industry need is the strongest. Because again, if we're looking at what we do in community colleges, and I would go back to our mission being CTE, our mission is to really respond to that labor market need that we have in industry. I'm all for AB 1295 and SB 1440. Matter of fact, in my area, we're doing a very innovative program looking at an ADN to MSN program, Butte College and Chico State. The players are aligning, and it's probably will work. But the capacity is not there at that next level. It just isn't there. And so even though we have these pathways that we've been working on for many years, some are working better than others, the capacity just isn't there. So in summary, I really feel that if we're going to look at one area, and again, my interest is in nursing only. I'm not promoting baccalaureate degrees at colleges for other areas. But if we look at a pilot, as Washington State did, and look at the data, and making sure that our industry partners are aligned with this, as we think they are, I think it would really help our economic development of the state. And again, if we're looking at the tax, if we looked at the, we were in San Diego with you last week, and we're hearing from the other states that it actually is a cost benefit to the taxpayer to offer the baccalaureate degree in nursing at the community college level. So thank you for the opportunity to address the committee.
Thank you very much. Our final public comment now.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Louise Timmer, and I'm the immediate past president of the American Nurses Association California. So I really appreciate you bringing up this whole problem of how do we get more baccalaureate nurses in California. My career has been with the CSU as a nursing educator in Sacramento for 30 years and retired, and now I am a nursing director. So I see the still issue of more preparation for registered nurses in California as well as the rest of the nation. And I appreciate you looking at all the factors expressed today, but there are 2 other factors that you all must consider when you say, how are we going to get this niche program if you want to go nursing and have it in the community college system. And it is the healthcare bill, the Universal Healthcare Bill of 2010, which is going to be implemented in 2014, plus the HRSA's prediction in 2014 to 2018, 1 million nurses are going to walk off the job because of their age. So we're going to have 1 million nurses short in that 4-year period. And we're going to have universal health care for 330 million people, 37 of which live in California. They now have access. Plus, the healthcare model is going to the preventive healthcare model, which is the nursing model, and away from the medical model, the illness system that we've had. So it is making nurses go on for more education to step up to the plate and have the healthcare services provided by advanced practice nurses and baccalaureate educated nurses. So somewhere California is going to have to see where we're going to have the baccalaureate programs. Now, when I was at the CSU, we discussed this for the last 6 years in the IMPACT project from 2000 and 2006. And the nurses got together from all the 3 systems, and we looked at the number of community college nursing programs, which was 85, and the number of CSU nursing programs, which is now 17, down from 18, and we have 1 in the BSN in the UC system. The 85 nursing programs in the community college are graduating over 7,000 every year. Well, we even thought of closing down the baccalaureate programs in the CSU system and just offer master's programs and then just take the 2 plus 2 year from the community college. Well, looking at the sheer numbers of 6,000 every year, where are we going to put them on 17 campuses? So the numbers just didn't add up. So it really puts the onus of responsibility on the community colleges in helping out with selected campuses offering the baccalaureate degree in nursing. It's a win-win situation for the state of California. So I thank you very much for bringing this subject up today.
Well, thank you for your testimony, and I want to thank the panelists who all brought us a great deal of very important information. I mean, we're clearly at a time where in healthcare there is a crisis, and your final comments talked about how that crisis, the healthcare crisis, is going to do nothing but multiply geometrically in the future as we go to different models of healthcare in this country, and as the age groups, the demographics provide more and more people who need healthcare. We've talked about the reduction in college opportunity for students, place-bound students and others. I appreciate all of the comments that have been brought to us, both in terms of the challenges, the obstacles that face a potential BA small pilot program in community college, and some of the potential gains that we could make. One thing is clear to me, and that is, despite the fact that we are in an economic crisis that's not paralleled, the status quo just doesn't make it. So thank you all for coming today to take a look at some ways we can perhaps improve on the status quo. With that, I will adjourn this meeting, and thank you all for attending.